Royce Morales is the founder and teacher of the Perfect Life Awakening program, author, columnist, and expert on mirroring. She empowers clients with her profound process that helps neutralize self-sabotage, shift stuck patterns and negative thinking by locating the origins of limiting subconscious programmed beliefs. Live an authentic existence. Discover your true purpose. Connect with your higher consciousness. Reset your life. Transform from triggered to empowered and attract what you truly desire and deserve by discovering what life is reflecting to you. Because it's all mirrors.
Hi, welcome to my new show. I'm so excited. I haven't even seen that intro and I just love it. I'm Royce Morales, as you probably figured out, and I have a new name that I call myself, the Awakener. It just kind of came to me and I said, oh my gosh, that's perfect because my program is called Perfect Life Awakening. And that's really what my classes and my information and my program does for people. It wakes you up. I know it certainly woke me up in my life when I started discovering all these things about mirrors. And I'm going to explain mirroring because it's such an important concept. And it's something you can utilize every minute of your day. And personally, I don't know how I would exist without it because I'm able to immediately look inside when something pushes my buttons or triggers me, and I figure out what is being reflected about myself that I need to look at. So it's an amazing tool. It's the best self-development awareness tool that I've ever experienced, and it came to me as everything does in my life. It came to me experientially. I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a hotel. I was meeting my former husband there for some reason, and he was working there. And I was going up this very steep escalator, and a woman was going down the escalator. And I had a long time to look at her, and I found myself having these judgmental thoughts. You know, she was kind of large, and I just kept looking at her going, how could anybody get so big? And why did she do that to herself? And oh my God, I mean, just the chattering of my mind and the judgments that were going on. And something clicked inside of me and I went, oh my God, she's my mirror. She is reflecting something about me to me. And I very quickly got in touch with what she was showing me, which was my own judgments of my weight and my food addiction and all of that stuff. And I went, oh my gosh, holy crap, what a mirror. And by the time I reached the top of the escalator and she reached the bottom, I felt so much love and compassion for her. And it was like, I wanted to turn around and go down and go, thank you so much. You showed me a great mirror of myself. I so appreciate you. So it's that kind of thing that can shift our judgments and our buttons and our triggers instantly. And I know I say this a lot, but as far as I'm concerned, getting in touch with mirrors could save the world. Okay, sounds lofty, but it really can, because can you imagine if people in the war room were sitting there determining whether they should go bomb some country or kill some people or whatever it is? And somebody in the room said, oh, wow, I wonder if that's a mirror for us. And they all did a little meditation and they were, processing what could possibly be showing them about themselves. And they all got in touch with all these great mirrors. And they opened their eyes and they looked around and they said, God, we probably shouldn't do that. It's just a mirror, isn't it? And they would feel compassion and love for that country they were about to demolish. So that's my ultimate goal, spreading the word about mirroring so that we don't have to have wars anymore, so we don't have to have violence and hate each other and get divorced and, hate our children and all that stuff that we do. Excuse me. So that's basically what happens in my Perfect Life Awakening courses. People get in touch with what's really going on, what's being reflected about themselves. I've been teaching this for over 40 years. And I've always talked about mirroring, but I haven't emphasized it as much as I'm doing now, because it's gotten clearer and clearer that everything is a mirror. Everything is energy. We all accept that. And so let's bring up that little seesaw and show you what I'm talking about here. So we've got this seesaw. I use seesaw as an analogy of what mirroring is. So as you'll notice, the little blue guy, when he lands on his side of the seesaw, the green guy goes up. And that's exactly how mirroring works. If I'm pushing something down on my side of the seesaw, it has to come up somewhere. So if I'm pushing down my emotions, they come up somewhere. If I'm pushing down my fear, it comes up somewhere. If I'm pushing down my judgmentalness, it comes up somewhere. So that's the analogy I like to use, because energy cannot be suppressed. It has to come up somewhere. So that's why I'm doing this show. I'm going to give you lots of different examples of mirrors. I also have wonderful student co-hosts, people that have been my student for a long time, and they're going to talk about how they use mirrors in their life and the challenges that have come from that, because I know it's not easy. It's the hardest thing that I teach. In fact, I lose more students when I start talking about mirroring because they all go, "Ooh, you mean you're saying that person over there that's doing that horrible stuff is my mirror?" And my answer is always, "Yeah, I know, it's hard." So that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to give examples and all kinds of information about it. I'm going to talk specifically about certain aspects of mirrors, like relationships and parenting and things like that. So let me give you a little bit more information about mirrors. And let's pull up that first slide, because I want to give you an exact definition. Just like I said, there's an unalterable universal law of energy that states nothing can be suppressed. Mirroring is what others in life are reflecting to you that you are suppressing of or in denial of about yourself. Now, of course, nobody likes to look at what we're in denial of about ourselves. So mirrors are these amazing tools that help us to see that. I'm going to give you another story. This one was very profound for me. I used to very loudly talk about my mom, who was a very judgmental person. Probably everything out of her mouth was judgmental. She would judge her friends. She would judge the world. She would judge everything. And she was very negative. And I was sharing this with somebody that I was out to lunch with, one of my students, actually. And I got through going on my whole rant about my mother being judgmental. And she looked at me and she said, "Royce, so who's being judgmental?" And I sat there like this going, "Oh my gosh, you're right. I am judging my mother's judgmentalness." So what I had to look at from that, which took me a while because it was a tough one to admit, but I had to look at my own judgmentalness. What is that about? Where did that come from? I am so judgmental. I'm just like my mom. And I did not see it until that wonderful student so graciously pointed it out to me. So let's go to the next slide. And I want to talk about, again, mirrors are like seesaws. They're the other side of the seesaw. Whatever you're pushing down is going to show up. If you're ignoring something about yourself, denying something, running away from something, it's always going to come up somewhere. And on that third slide, 4 basic ways that mirrors show up. I have lists of ways that mirrors show up, but I've divided them into 4 basic ways. The first way is by others acting a certain way around you. So I'm denying my anger. Others get angry around me or toward me. And there's a great story about that one too. My wonderful husband, just the most amazing, spiritual, sensitive, aware human being. And we got married 38 years ago. And all of a sudden, in the first year of our marriage, he became this very angry person all the time. And he was punching walls. And it was just so out of character for him, and I didn't understand it. I would not have married him had I seen that other side. And finally, one day, I said, I wonder what he's mirroring to me. And I got in touch with the fact that I had been suppressing my anger my entire life. In my family, anger was not okay. So I kept pushing it down, and he was the other side of my seesaw. And when I got in touch with that and admitted it to myself and found the source of all of that, guess what? He stopped having to mirror that to me. He didn't have to show me that mirror anymore. So it's a really interesting thing that happens when you clean up or take the Windex out and clean up your side of the mirror. Things change out there. Don't have expectations about how that has to look, because sometimes it's very surprising, but things do change. The other way that mirrors show up is by others stating whatever it is you're in denial of. So I am denying a fear that I have, so others verbalize it for me. So if I'm afraid that you're going to hate my curly hair, all of a sudden you say to me, oh, I don't like your curly hair. So interesting. This one is really important. Others withhold from you. So if I believe that I'm undeserving, guess what? Everybody in my universe is going to withhold from me. They're not going to pay me what I'm worth. They're not going to give me that, extra cookie or whatever it is. So others withhold from you. Now, nobody likes this last one. And by the way, if you're one of my students and you've heard me talk about mirrors, you're probably rolling your eyes right now going, oh, I hate mirrors. Nobody likes mirrors, especially this one. Others become a magnification mirror for me. So this is a tough one, because again, if I'm in denial, my higher consciousness wants to wake up. So whatever it takes to get me to wake up, which might just mean a magnification. So I might have this tiny bit of violence in me that maybe I would never act on, but I need to get in touch with it. Guess what? The universe says, okay, here it is in your face in a magnification. So those are hard, because sometimes it's like, well, I know I would never be violent. So why is it so huge in my face? Well, it's whatever it takes to get us to wake up. The more we ignore and deny mirrors, they get bigger and more extreme until you wake up and see what is being reflected. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I'm going to be talking a lot more about that in the future shows, which are the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. And I want to introduce my amazing co-host for this episode, Jacqueline Stratton. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. She has been my student for a long time. And she has her master's in education, and she's a child development expert and a parenting expert. She has studied all kinds of metaphysical, spiritual, self-development things. And of course, she's been in my classes for a long time as well. She is just amazing. She's brilliant. And I wanted her to co-host today because I wanted her to share about her personal experiences with understanding mirrors. She's actually used the concept with her students, elementary school children. She invited me one time to one of her classes, and I saw how she did this brilliant stuff with these kids because they're so open. She was able to get kids to understand mirrors. So welcome, Jackie. There you are.
Hey, thank you
for being here. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. So let's talk about how you have understood mirrors in your life, how you use them. I know you use them in your relationship. You use them all over the place. Tell us a little bit about what you do with that.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's an absolute honor to be with you. And it was a treasure listening to that synopsis of mirrors, to hear a little brush up on mirrors this morning as we start on this topic. I just want to share a little bit about my personal journey as I have endeavored to be more involved with my spirituality and becoming more aware of something like mirrors. And when I was a teenager, I remember going camping and being so connected to nature. You know, I was pretty young. I was probably 12, 13, and collecting rocks and stuff and just really connecting to nature. So I just, as you're speaking, I was thinking about 10 different mirrors myself. And I thought, nature is such a mirror, you know, nature is such a beautiful mirror. It's a mirror that heals us and makes us feel better. After that time period, I went to high school and met one of my dearest friends, and she introduced me to a lot of self-help awareness and spiritual endeavors and attraction. How do you attract, you know, things that you desire in life, and um, how to be a higher self kind citizen to the world and make magic in the world. And then, you know, I did a lot of spiritual stuff with her and learning how to meditate and stuff. Met my husband in college, and the first night we met, he introduced me to you. Told me all about Royce Morales and this magical, amazing woman that he learned from as a teenager, and that he had so much that he had developed in himself as a self-aware person as a young child, as a teenager, and he really wanted me to meet you. So I met you a short time later and began the classes. And, you know, I have to say the mirror has been probably the most eye-opening experience of working with you. And it accentuates everything else you learn in life and how you go through life navigating relationships, professional situations, family, children, public environments. And, you know, like yesterday I was on the phone with a dear friend. I'll give a quick mirror anecdote to finish up this question. And we were talking, we processed together. Processing is something that we do in Royce's classes, and it's kind of like a meditation technique. And my friend and I were processing, and my phone died during the process. And so I felt really bad because this has happened a couple times. And I'm kind of sometimes not totally paying attention to my phone battery status. And so I felt really bad. I had to charge my phone, call her back, tell her I was sorry. And she went into a long explanation of her feelings and button pushes and her stuff about it. And I bought into it for a second. And then I said, you know what, Jackie, you don't need to buy into what she's sharing. Just allow her to share. Because the mirror I was getting right then was, I'm bad. I messed up. I'm not a good friend. I shouldn't have let my phone die. I should have paid attention. And so I went into self-judgment, and my friend started explaining all of her feelings of her mirrors about why she deserves someone to hang up on her during a meditation, you know? And so after hearing her say that and allowing her to share, I peacefully shifted. I shifted in my heart. And then I just told her I was sorry. I didn't say any explanations or anything, but we processed, and then I processed. And the first thing I went into is that about feeling a mirror of being a failure as a friend because I let my phone die. So I started meditating, and what I got was my feelings of myself as a person, as a human, as a woman, as a being this lifetime, and getting in touch with some stuff in my childhood that, you know, where I decided I didn't want to fully connect to people. And so I'm creating situations where I'm disconnecting, and then the mirror is being reflected to me by my own doings. And it was such a wonderful, amazing opening for me. And I forgave myself. And my friends shifted her feeling of the whole thing. And we both went through this thing together. And it was all just a mirror and it was all okay. And life is continuing on. Each day we're going through these little things all the time. And it's how you choose to realize and observe and learn from what you're getting instead of what I was about to do, which was buy into it and get upset, right?
Wow, that is a perfect story, perfect example. And you're left with peace and reconnection and forgiveness and gratitude. Yeah, just
Yeah.
great. I
Yeah.
love that story.
It was a wonderful way to process it. Shifted her process, and her process was going somewhere else. So it brought up mirrors and buttons for her,
Yeah.
what her deserving situation was with what she's creating. And that's to be continued. And then it brought up my stuff that I could think about myself and how I could be better at being me. And then I could be a better friend.
Yes.
I feel like these teachings are a little bit like about self-care and how you are perceiving yourself and being better to yourself.
Yes.
It's really easy to be hard on yourself and make mistakes. Like, oops, I let my battery die. It was just something so silly, but so meaningful on such a bigger level too. And, I think perceiving these things and understanding these things is how we can live a more peaceful life.
Amen. Yes, that's just a perfect example, and how easy it is, really. And I find that there's various layers of mirroring. So you could have probably just stopped at one point and said, "Oh, okay, well, she's a mirror of whatever it was that she was a mirror of," but you took it further and you found the origins, which I think is really significant to do. It's not always necessary, like my example with the escalator, where I just realized, oh, I'm judging myself in that way, you know. But if I wanted to take it further, which I did eventually, but I needed to sit down and go, well, why am I judging myself? Why do I judge my body? What is that really about? And find some sources for those those false beliefs that I have about myself. So I'm so glad that you did that and had that instant opportunity to do that with somebody. That's just great.
Yes, I have another anecdote I can share. I was on the phone with my husband talking about our kids, and I started to get my buttons pushed a little bit with something he was sharing, and I did the same thing. Instead of buying into it, I just said, "It's not my stuff. It's okay. Just allow him to speak." Because I started getting a little bit emotional or upset. It started bringing up feelings for me of frustration. And so instead of doing that, I stopped myself and I said, just allow him to share what he's saying, something with our daughter. And it doesn't matter what he's sharing. I don't need to take it personally. It's just his share. And, because he's done your classes, he knows the verbiage and the wording and these things that he navigates within himself when we communicate together. And for some reason, my husband pushes my buttons more than anybody.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Anyways, and then my mom was number 2, so it's like perfect. Anyways, I stopped to say to myself, don't judge him. And then I allowed him to say what he was saying. And we ended up having this super peaceful conversation and productive conversation about how to help someone in our family that needed help with something, instead of getting into a parenting, juggling sort of combative disagreement about it. And it's because I saw the mirror of, it's okay, it's his side, it's his opinion. He's feeling that way. It's okay if he feels that way. Allow him to share what he's sharing and don't try to control him, you know. And I feel like control and button pushing and that kind of stuff, which we all do in different ways, can come up a lot, where mirroring can help you navigate that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, speaking as your teacher, did you have an opportunity? It's one thing to be able to recognize that, oh, yeah, that's somebody else's stuff, their issue, their button, their trigger, whatever, but to take it in terms of it being a mirror, because I find that anything in our life that we attract, if we even so much as notice it and find ourselves saying, oh, that's their stuff, there's something for us to see about that. Have you had an opportunity to do that?
Well, yeah, it's an ongoing thing with being married. Being married's hard work, and I definitely think that learning these tools has helped me navigate being in a marriage and forgiving and sort of reflecting on myself and what my stuff is. So what the thing that came up in the process, because that was in the morning, and then when I was on the phone with my friend later on the process, I went back to a time in my childhood with my father, and I was reflecting on my father and my mother were getting divorced, and I was feeling, this is a moment I keep going back to. So it's a very key moment in my life where I made a lot of decisions, and I keep going back about this moment and reflecting on what happened there that shifted me. And I literally saw a time warp yesterday in this meditation, where I was sitting there as a little girl on the stoop of my front porch next to the blue blossom bush where the bees come. And I was like connecting to the plant and connecting to the earth and being in my body. But I was also taking on stuff as a human being of not feeling safe or comfortable in the world. And what it was is my dad was leaving, and I was trying to engage him. Dad, where are you going? What's going on? What? And he just said, I'm picking up some stuff, and left and didn't interact with me, or like a little child would want. And so I sort of realized these decisions I had made about who I was and how I interact with others in connection, right? So that goes back to the connection with my friend that I felt like I wanted to connect with her, but then I would sabotage connection with her. And the same thing with my husband. I want to connect with him, but then I'll self-sabotage it by having a problem. So I was just realizing the reflection of myself in my own things I'm still learning to heal about who I am. And not judging my father, not judging David, not judging my friends, not judging people, but rather seeing what they're teaching me. Yes. What are they doing that is teaching me about who I am? It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's just simply what's bugging me about it.
Yeah.
What's pushing me about it.
Yeah.
And so I was realizing just in myself, not wanting to connect, being afraid of having love with others, and not being in presence with fully wanting to be in a coherent together relationship with someone, but trying to make it not perfect. So
yeah. Everything you said was so perfect. I could take apart every single sentence and do a whole lecture on it, because it was just so significant. But what stands out to me is when you said self-sabotage, because that is what we do. This tool helps us stop self-sabotaging. So you could have very easily said to your husband, oh, that's stupid and that's wrong, and how can you feel that way and feel even more disconnected? But you didn't. You chose to see it as a mirror. You chose to see it as, why am I not connecting? What is that about for me? And the self-sabotage was nipped in the bud. So
yeah. And it kind of goes back to the peacemaking in the world, because there was a little moment, they say self-care and self-preservation or self-help and making peace in your personal life, and then in your home life, and then in your community, and then in your nation, then in your world. Make peace with David and coming up with a plan to help our daughter was a much more peaceful way to come to terms with how can we help this person do better,
Yeah.
rather than getting upset and disconnecting, and then we didn't have a plan to help.
Yeah. And like I said about, the instance with my husband being punching walls and stuff, I could have very easily said, "Oh, I made a stupid mistake marrying this guy. You know, let me get out of this. It's only been a year. I'm out of here." But instead, I chose, okay, why is this happening? What is this about for me? Why did I attract this? Why did I subconsciously choose this person as my best teacher to show me a mirror of my own suppressed anger? So it's a real shift in seeing things. And like I said, doing that can shift the external. It really does. So, why don't we take a little bit of a break? I am talking with Jacqueline Stratton, and we're talking about mirrors and the powerful tools that they are, and we'll be right back.
Home Times TV. Do you want to break free from old patterns and limiting beliefs that subconsciously sabotage your life? What are your triggers, and what really is beneath them? Are you seeking answers to life's big questions, intrigued by the possibility of self-discovery that goes deep? Looking for tools to help you break free from hidden sources of feeling stuck, confused, and unworthy? Perfect Life Awakening takes you on an epic inner adventure that shifts your perception of yourself, others, and life permanently. Identify and overcome the origins of subconscious triggers and limiting beliefs holding you back. That's how you transform your mindset from the roots. That's how you liberate your spirit, awaken your intuition, and discover your true purpose. Dive deep into the mysteries held within. Embark on a life-altering journey of self-discovery. Be a trailblazer within your own life. Go from triggered to empowered because you deserve a perfect life awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. Talking about mirrors with Jackie Stratton, and she just gave beautiful examples. I mentioned before that you invited me to your class. I think it was a kindergarten class, maybe it was a first grade class years ago. And I was so impressed with how you assisted these little people to, not be angry and hitting each other and stuff, just by very calmly saying certain things to them. Do you remember doing that? And how did you do that? That was just brilliant.
Well, I've been in education for 30 plus years in various formats, and I just have a lot of skills in working with kids and stuff. And then when I started, I taught preschool for years before I worked with you. And then I had pursued my elementary teaching credential during the time I was doing the correspondence school with you. And taking those concepts of, people getting upset, buttons getting pushed, wanting to react, emotional management, and bringing a little bit of a self-awareness into the process and the classroom environment was natural for the kids. They naturally do want to have good times together and enjoy each other. There's always people that might come to school with a little bit of emotional upset from a hard morning or something. So using those tools can really help them. And I just toned them down to a first grade primary school level, talked about something like, I noticed, Royce, that when I sat too close to you, that you made a little wrinkled nose look to your face. And then you just talk about it with the kids. And it takes them about a minute and they get it right away.
They do.
Yeah. And they are willing to say sorry and be more vulnerable than adults are. So that just kind of shows that I think we should be really sensitive to adults and give people the benefit of the doubt, because people have a lot of experiences in their life where they didn't quite know how to get through it, or something happened that they didn't feel completely comfortable with. So they're just coming from that place at this point in their adulthood.
Yeah. It's reminding me, I've actually taught a few children's classes in Manhattan Beach. And I had one group of kids that were about 6-year-olds, and I had the other group with actually 12-year-olds. It's really fascinating because, excuse me, the 6-year-old class, I would get my lectures that take an hour for adults, and I would get them down to about 2 minutes. They would completely get it. And there was this one little girl, she was so amazing. I spent, several minutes talking about fear and all of the stuff that I talk about with adults, and going on and on and on. And she just raised her hand real gently and she goes, "Royce, it's just fear." I went,
Right.
I've been using that expression ever since, given to me by a 6-year-old. It's amazing.
Yeah. I know. I remember the kids a lot saying in classes when I've been teaching and taught them about how to navigate interactions and relationships with other students, them saying, "Teacher, he's pushing my buttons." And then I would, of course, navigate that by saying, "Well, okay, thank you for sharing. And what are you feeling?" And then they would express that, and then teaching them how to talk with the other person and say, "It really hurt my feelings when you sat too close to me, Royce. I needed to have some space," or something, And then the other person, often, children will say, "Oh, okay, I'll move over then." And if they don't, you navigate into going a little deeper with it. But it really does do that seesaw effect, like you were just sharing with that graphic, that people, once they start to discuss peacefully the situation that's happening for them, it slowly will start to come down, and then it de-escalates the personal feeling of what came up from the mirror.
Yeah. Were you able to take them that one further step and have them look at mirrors? Or is that a little too advanced? Yeah.
No, yeah, we would talk about the mirror and say, if someone sat too close to you, Have you ever sat too close to someone before? Or have you ever been in someone's space too much? Or have you ever, when your mom was busy, did you ever go up to her when she was on the phone and start talking to her? Well, that's like an issue with space, right? People have space needs, and sometimes people need a little more room around them. Like when we had COVID and we had to have more space around us, like a hula hoop bubble. And other times you can be close to someone, like a baby with his mom being held close. So, yeah, we definitely talked about mirrors. And I just wanted to say, I do feel so thankful for that wonderful example you gave earlier on the escalator. Those kind of things happening to me in my daily life on so many levels, with mirrors coming at you like that. For example, my wonderful dog is aging, and it's interesting because he's going through the aging process, and it's a mirror of aging, and it sort of makes me sad, and then I just process through the natural progression of what something in a life form does. It has a time set. So I feel like mirrors are everywhere.
They are.
It's a focus point too, of like, you can process the mirrors to get more positive when you're feeling down, and you can reflect on the mirrors that are positive, like nature or my wonderful dog. Even though he's mirroring to me this sort of letting go loss thing, right? Because he's going to the other side of the bell curve anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, because mirrors are not just negative things. I always think the silly example I always give is mirrors are kind of like, you get up in the morning and your hair is a mess and your face is all, and you need to shave and all that stuff. And you look in the mirror and you're like, ugh. But they're also positive. They're also, you get up and you fix your hair and you shave and you look good.
Yeah.
So, I had a student, I keep bringing up these old stories, but I had a student that used to come to class and would listen to the mirror information that I would give. And he'd say, well, I don't understand what's going on, because I keep having mirrors show up with all these people telling me I'm great and I'm wonderful and I'm, changing their life. I mean, he would go on and on about all these amazing mirrors that he had. And I said, well, those are mirrors too. But he couldn't accept these things from people. So he had to look at, why do I not feel deserving of all these wonderful mirrors that I'm attracting? So it works in all kinds of interesting ways. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like one of the biggest ways that it comes up, and when I say it really should be them. The way that they come up is through helping us navigate and overcome the parts of us that get a little overwhelmed by life, and when we are able to work through things with our family, who we have a lot of personal interactions with and can bring stuff up. Like recently I was staying with some people, and it's funny, little button pushy things come up with people, like the way you load the dishwasher, or the way you use the kitchen. And I feel like when those mirrors come up and it bothers you, it's almost like a gift saying to you, here's an opportunity for you to make peace with this moment. Right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that so many people in the world have a lot of stressors and overwhelm in life, that those little moments can make things really big. You can have a big moment with people because of that. But also, the trick is to use these in your everyday life so that you can come to peace, walk away, process your own stuff, and not just say, oh, that happened, I'm going to let that go, just push it away, be positive. But rather, when that person said something to me, it brought up for me my own sense of how I don't load the dishwasher right, or whatever silly thing it is. I'm just using a funny example.
Yeah.
And I think you really get to know yourself on a deeper level where you can be a better you and try to help others by reflecting to them that they can get in touch with
Yes.
the buttons getting pushed and the mirrors being brought up, and that it's okay, because life is kind of scary and overwhelming, and you got to have tools to self-reflect and understand, like, what is really going on here,
Yeah.
especially for women in some ways, and of course for everybody, but women love to talk and women love to process and interact and navigate relationships. And if one thing I noticed in your wonderful new commercial there, that it felt like it was representing a lot of different kinds of people in that commercial. And I was like, oh, this is so great. This is representing everyone deserves to feel better and do better in life. And one of my goals in life, one of my endeavors in life, is to help women be more caring and nurturing to each other, because something you said earlier about the out or something, like, that doesn't matter as much. What matters more is that we are authentic with each other and we support each other and put each other up. So I constantly am trying to mirror to people to compliment each other, put each other up, say things that are constructive and helpful to people. And then they'll be more apt to get the mirror when it's negative. Right?
So true. So true. Yes.
We really have to learn to be in friendships and be together in a place where we can talk about things and lift each other up and support each other and help the whole world advance and evolve together, arm in arm. And when we support each other in positivity, then we can look at those harder parts of the bigger world, right? Like navigating problems in a workplace or even more in bigger places. And how do we do that peacefully? So in self-reflection and in interpersonal connection.
Yeah. And I think what you said again is so important, because by me looking at my mirrors and being willing to share that with somebody, it's like, gosh, when you said that about my curly hair, boy, I noticed that it really upset me. And I took a look at that, what that's about for me, because gosh, I've been judging my curly hair forever. And, and being willing to share that with somebody is amazing. And it can shift relationships for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really can.
Yeah.
I was going through a little bit of a tricky time with a family member when my mom passed. And I processed and meditated and talked to, people in your classes. And I got in touch with my own mirror of judging myself through the process of losing someone and not being there for my mom and not being there for the family member, and the anger that was being mirrored to me was just my own self-judgment of myself for not being there enough, and for it was a reflection of how bad I felt that I wasn't part of the process enough in my mom's journey transitioning out of the human form. So I just, it's like life goes through these constant shifts and changes, and understanding the mirror has really helped me and thousands of others, I hope,
Yes.
to navigate how to get through all these.
Yeah. And I hope that thousands of others are listening right now, because The world needs to understand this. It really does. It's my mission to get people to understand this and say it powerfully and to a broad audience. So let people know about this. So the other thing I wanted to mention when you were talking about the dishwasher, I just love that example. And I was thinking it would be so easy to just discard that kind of a button. It's like, oh, whatever. It's just a dishwasher. Everybody loads the dishwasher differently. But there's a gift there. And it's maybe not about the dishwasher. Maybe it's about
Yes.
how you get dressed in the morning, or how you put stuff in a file, or there's something symbolic about it. So it's not just about whatever it is that you're seeing. It's about what it symbolizes.
Yes.
Yeah, just kind
Yeah.
of,
So with the dishwasher, it's such a wonderful example of control. There's
yes,
a lot of control buttons that go on between
yes,
humans in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the household, in the car, like driving. Couples fight a lot driving, I've heard through Dr. John Gray, the Men Are From Mars. And just, those little things that are reflecting these mirrors to us of trying to tell someone else what to do
yeah,
is such a gift, like you just said, of teaching yourself a sense of letting go and allowing and
yeah,
not needing to be in charge of everything. And what a freeing feeling that is. It's okay. I don't have to be in charge of everything. Just allow someone else to do it their way. And what is that mirroring to me? Well, it's mirroring to me my own sense of needing to be in control of everything. And then I can go into processing about that from this lifetime, childhood, experiences in different relationships I've had, and go really deep with it to help bring more peace.
yes. And it could go into past lives too. I know a lot of my processing has taken me back thousands of years to look at where things really originated from and what's really going on in terms of what's being mirrored. So, yeah, be open to that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, just as kind of a way to wrap things up, just to remind everybody, everything is mirrors. It's all mirrors. Keep in mind that seesaw that I showed you in the beginning. You push something down and it comes up somewhere. It has to. And I so appreciate Jackie sharing her wisdom and her great examples. And thank you so much. And just to remind everybody that I have helped thousands of people go deep and discover what life is reflecting, because life is our biggest mirror. And what happens from seeing that, as you can observe with Jackie, is that you wake up. We're kind of walking around in a daze all the time, and we're so reactive and needing to be right and needing to control everything, as Jackie was saying, that we miss the opportunity to get in touch with what life and others are reflecting to us. And if we don't, we're just going to keep self-sabotaging, and we're just going to allow those subconscious beliefs to control us. And we deserve so much more. We deserve to be empowered. We deserve to walk through life awake and aware, and have those gifts that people give us with mirrors to wake us up and be our best teachers. So reach out to me. I would love to be your teacher, and I start classes all the time. Um, and my website is roycemorales.com. It's also perfectlifeawakening.com. And let's talk, and let's do this. Let's get to those mirrors. And thank you again so much, Jackie. Your insight and your stories were just wonderful. And
Thank you.
I'll
It
see
was
you guys in a couple of weeks for my next show. I also have my Perfect Life Awakening show where I interview amazing, fascinating people. And so I hope to see you next week as well. Thank you. Deserve.
it was an honor to be here today.